Hey, what's happening everyone? Zoop here, and this video is a little update on a video I had a little while ago. Kind of told you some things that were going on in my life, and one of those things was I had a pretty sick kitty cat. Jasmine was found to have a mammary tumor, and since then she had not been doing very well. She'd been bleeding all over the place. I guess she developed a sore and a buildup of blood and fluid, and it was pretty miserable the past 2 months. Having to clean that up every single day, everywhere she sat, it was just getting all over the place. And I know most people probably would have made a decision to do something, but she was acting fine. I mean, other than the bleeding, she was still her sweet self. I guess the update is my wife and I went to work yesterday, and when my wife got home, she found that Jasmine had passed away. So we'd noticed over the past couple days that she hadn't been doing that well. Normally she comes downstairs and hangs out with us at nighttime. We watch TV after work, and she hadn't been doing that. So I kind of knew that something was up, something wasn't right. I mean, she was still eating, but we had to put the food like right up in front of her, and then she would eat. So the night before last, my wife took food up to her, and she was in a room, one of the spare rooms we have, on a sleeping bag that we put there for her, and my wife put the food right in front of her, and she actually ate normal and fine, and we went to bed not thinking anything. And then when we woke up at 4:30 to get ready for work, I went to feed the cats. We've actually got 2 of them. We've got a black cat as well, named Onyx. But when we went to feed them, I couldn't find Jasmine anywhere. And I looked all over the place. I looked upstairs, I looked downstairs, I looked in crevices, I looked in some very hard to find places, and I couldn't find her. And I couldn't spend more time because I had to get to work, I had to get to my van pool. So that was an indication to me that something really wasn't right at all. And I kind of had one of those gut feelings that, you know, this was probably the end. And to the point that we set up a Ring, one of those video monitoring devices, and we had it in the spare bedroom just so we could keep tabs on her from time to time. And, you know, I checked it off and on throughout the day and didn't see her at all. And I knew something was up. So I even emailed my wife at work and said, hey, you know, I really hope you don't go home to find a dead cat. And I think she thought that I was kind of kidding, and she wrote back and said, I hope not also. But I think deep down inside I knew something wasn't right. And sure enough, I was in my van pool on my way home, and I get a call from my wife. And as soon as I saw it was my wife calling, I knew it wasn't good. I thought Jasmine was either very, very sick and couldn't move, or, you know, the worst. And when my wife answered, she did confirm that Jasmine had passed away. And I guess the hard part is my wife was the one that actually found her. And I guess at some point during the day, Jasmine crawled out from where she was hiding, and she went under our bed where she and the other cat frequently lay, and that's where she passed away. And sadly, my wife found her with her eyes open and tongue sticking out, but yeah, it's tough. It's very tough. So I'm just going to take a moment to kind of eulogize Jasmine. You know, she wasn't my cat per se. I met her when she was 1, her and Onyx. They were my wife's cats. She got them when she was in Florida, and they moved up with her. So I've still known Jasmine her entire life. And out of the 2 cats, I always kind of considered her my cat. Onyx, he's a special case. My wife dotes on him. He lays on her. He'll paw her, make biscuits, whatever you want to call it. He's very needy, but he's very much my wife's cat. Jasmine, she was a different type of cat. My wife picked her because she was the one that was scared. She was the one all alone, shaking. And I told my wife, those normally aren't the cats you take because they're the ones that have issues. And I don't want to say she had issues. She was special. You couldn't really pet her on her back. If you did that, her fur would start rolling, and she'd turn around and try and nip you. But you could pet her on her head, and she absolutely loved it. She was the softest cat in the world. Just very, very soft. In her earlier days, she would love to jump and play, and she'd do weird stuff, like she'd jump at a point on the wall and kind of bounce off it. I don't know, you know, cats are weird. Cats do weird things. But she was sweet. And we had kind of a bond with each other that my wife and her didn't have. She'd come up to me and, you know, she'd do her head boops and rub against my hand, and she'd lick my hand. Things that she didn't do to my wife. So I always kind of considered her mine, and I considered Onyx to be my wife's. So she was sweet in her own way. She always loved laying with us while we were watching TV or doing whatever. And she just had the cutest little squeak as well. Just a beautiful, soft cat. The softest cat I've ever felt. And she did grow a little chunky in her later days. It was hard when you have two cats. You just can't monitor their feeding. So we would do what we could. But at one point we just gave up. And I mean, she wasn't hideously fat, but she did get large. She was unique. She was a little odd, but all cats are odd, right? Anyhow, I think we're very, very lucky, though, because one of the things that I was dreading, one of the things that I didn't want to have to do was take her to the vet and have her euthanized with my wife there. So in many ways, we got very, very lucky. I mean, she passed away in a place she was comfortable in a place she was familiar with. We didn't have to put her in a crate. We didn't have to listen to her crying and just all stressed out as we drive half an hour or an hour to the vet to have her euthanized in a place she's unfamiliar with. So she just passed away peacefully. She was in a place that she loved. And for all we know, Onyx was with her, because when our friend came, I actually wasn't able to make it home quick enough. So our very good neighborhood friends came over and were with my wife, and the husband, he pulled Jasmine out and boxed her and took her over to their place. And the wife, she stayed with my wife and kind of consoled her and kept her company until I got home. So I got home, and you know, we talked and decided what we wanted to do, and whether I was going to bury her in our backyard, which I'm glad we decided not to, because we don't have a privacy fence yet, and you really can't do that. And I would have had to have dug like a 3-foot hole, and yeah, that would not have been fun. So ultimately, we decided to take her to the vet and have her cremated, and that way my wife can get her ashes back and still have her with us. And that was the decision we made. But I really got to thank my neighbors for helping us out like that, because it would have been tough. I would have been able to pull her out and do all that, but it would have been a little harder for me. And he kind of took the bullet there and did the hard work. So I guess I really didn't get to see her one last time. I did, but I'm thankful that I didn't see her passed away. That would have been even rougher. And it was hard. You know, it didn't hit me until I actually got to the vet and handed the box off to the veterinary assistant. That's when it kind of hit me, and I had a couple tears. So just a very, very sad affair. And I know a lot of you all out there have gone through this. A ton of you. Actually, I'm going to say the majority of you all probably have. And I haven't lost a pet since I lost my family cat that I grew up with when I was a child. And that was over a decade ago, probably about 15 years ago. And that was hard enough. And I bawled my eyeballs out for that, because, you know, I had known that cat my whole life. And, you know, Jasmine, I've known for her whole life too. And I was really sad. But, you know, we've still got another cat, and we've got our dog Ellie, which, you know, I don't even want to think about that, because when she goes eventually, I'm going to be a mess, because dogs are just something completely different. But I don't want to harp on that. I don't want to think about that right now. I just wanted to use this time to, I guess, eulogize Jasmine and, you know, somehow provide another memory of her. And I also want to give the chance for you all also. You know, if you've lost a pet recently, they are family. They're very much family. I want you to take a moment, if you want to, and in the comments of this video, just go ahead and do your own eulogy. You know, your pet, what type of animal it was, and I think this would just be a very good tribute in a way for everyone to get it out there, and so other people know your loss as well. Thanks for those that stayed to the end of this. I know these type of videos really aren't as popular, and not as many people watch them. And I promise I'll get a review out. I think I've got a Bayard review coming tomorrow or the day after. I just need to get around to it when I feel like it. So just thank you for listening to me talk about my cat, and I really do appreciate it, because it was hard. And the hardest part was just seeing how upset my wife is and having to face her and be there to console her. That's when you really got to put the man pants on, and it's not an easy thing, just because my wife loves animals so much, and she loved these cats. Just having to deal with her was the hard part. Losing the cat was tough, but having to face her and be there for her, it was even harder. So anyhow, hope you all are doing better than we are. I'm sure you all are. Have a great day. Give your pets a hug. Give your loved ones a hug as well. And I'll catch you all later. Zoop out.